Welcome back, everyone. This is Noob's Perspective. Today we're looking at Python input validation using numbers and strings. This video is meant to be a simple demonstration on gracefully handling invalid user input. If you'd like to see more in-depth error handling in future videos, let me know in the comments. Let's say we want the user to provide us with a dollar amount spent at a restaurant. We can capture the input by using the input command and storing the response in a variable called bill. Next, we want to calculate the tax and total amount due. The first problem we encounter is that the input captured with the input command is a string. This will throw an error when trying to perform mathematical calculations on it. To solve this, we can simply wrap the input command with a float command to convert the user's input to a floating point number. In this case, we use the float because US dollar amounts contain dollars and cents. Using the int command would fail when converting the string if it has decimals, because integers consist of whole numbers. To make it look more like dollars and cents, let's round it to 2 decimal places using the round function. Now that we have the float in place, the next problem we may encounter is if the user provides us with something other than a number. There are several ways we can handle this. A great way to handle invalid input is using try and except. Anything we place under the else clause will run if there are no exceptions found. To improve the program even further, we can place this in a while loop so that the user can retry as many times as they need. I like to set a default variable before the while loop that is set to true, and then once a condition is met, it'll be set to false and break out of the loop. It's a good idea to specify the type of exception that you're handling so that you can handle them differently as needed. Instead of exception here to cover all exceptions, I'm going to type value error because when float tries to turn a string into a float but it's not a valid number, we will get a value error. When I run the program, we should expect the same type of output. It gives us our print statement and allows me to type in the bill amount again. Perfect. We can also raise exceptions when the user provides input we don't want, even if Python sees it as valid input. For example, on the bill amount, we don't want the user to put in a negative number. Now, a negative number will still be recognized as valid input when Python tries to turn it into a float. To handle this, we can use an if statement to check if the value provided is less than 0. If there is a problem converting it to a float, it will go to the accept value error before it tries to run the if statement. The keyword is raise, and we can specify the exception that we would like to raise. To show the functionality, I'm going to specify a type error even though this is not the case. And I'm going to add another exception for type errors. Now this isn't really a type error. If it's less than 0, Python is okay with turning that into a float, but I'm not. So it took the type error exception clause and allows me to try again. In this case, I only provided a string without any numbers in it that could be converted to a float, and it ran the value error. This is because try is catching the first error encountered and following that logic. Because this isn't actually a type error when the number is negative, I'm going to define my own custom exception. To do this, you can create a class And the name will be the name of your exception. In my case, I'm just going to call this class negative number. And in parentheses, you'll want to pass in exception. Below this class, you don't have to put anything, so I'm just going to put pass. So that means it's going to run and essentially do nothing. Now instead of type error, I can choose negative number, and this will be the output. Since this negative number exception doesn't actually do anything, the exception here is just going to print what I've put right here. I do need to tell it to raise the negative number, not a type error. And let's check it out. Okay, it was able to use the exception that I created with just 2 lines of code. I'm going to give it a string so that we can make sure the value error is still working. Perfect, got the output that I wanted. I'll give it a proper bill amount. And it worked and exited the loop. And remember, the else statement runs when no exceptions are found. Now that I can get the tax properly, I'm going to proceed with getting the total. The total will just be equal to the bill plus the tax. Keep it under the else. That doesn't look right. I did my math wrong. The tax is actually going to be 0.0725. Novice mistake. My bad. That looks better, and that is a better total. If I wanted, I could add as many custom exceptions as I want, given different scenarios. I could also add an exception if the bill is 0 and have it print something like the bill can't be 0, we need a bill. But I think you get the point with the negative number, and it's not necessary in this case. If this tutorial was helpful for you, please consider subscribing to help grow my channel. If there are other things that you'd like to see in the future, please let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.